Hey guys, Jen here. I am an author, a speaker, and a strategy, success mindset, and manifestation marketing coach for emerging 1% authors who want to create the dream writing life all on their terms. And I wanted to talk to you today about something that I've been hearing a lot of people saying lately, and that is, this isn't working. So if you've started to do something new in your life, if you've tried, to go out a little bit further from your comfort zone, and maybe you're doing some stuff you haven't done, at all, or maybe you just haven't done it a lot, maybe you're pushing yourself to write every day, or maybe you're starting to get more visible on social media, or maybe you're, doing things to kind of grow your following a little bit, or whatever it is that you're doing. And, of course, when we start taking new actions and we start doing new things, things will start changing. But a lot of times they don't change immediately. So you may, have been doing something new for a couple of weeks now, or maybe a few days, and you're looking around in your reality and saying, this isn't working. Like, it's not working. So maybe, you've been at it for a couple of weeks and you're not really seeing any new followers, or you've been, posting stuff online, writing some new stuff, and no one's subscribing to your email list, or, you're doing some good stuff with your writing. Maybe you've been very consistent for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, and you're still feeling like you're not making enough progress. So something that I think a lot of people don't realize is that there really is a time lapse. So when you decide you want something and when you're ready to actually make it happen to when it actually shows up in your life is there's going to be a gap there. So it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen immediately. And I think a lot of times people get very disheartened by that, and they think, well, this isn't working, this isn't going to work. And the thing I want you to know is that it is working. So it may not see in your physical reality that it is working, but it is absolutely working, because there is so much stuff going on, behind the curtains of time and space. So, the stuff you can't see that's happening in the world, that's, going on, that's actually building up whatever it is you're trying to do. It's all working. It's just, it's not showing you, coming through in your reality yet, but it's absolutely working. And the only way that it's going to stop working is if you do. And I think that's probably the biggest factor here is consistency. So yes, it is very hard to be consistent. It is very hard to keep going day in and day out when you're not seeing results, you're not seeing progress, when you feel like it's not working. But trust me when I tell you it is working, it just takes time to get there. So, there's a gap. I mean, when I first started doing all my writing stuff and my book stuff this year especially, I didn't see immediate results from it. It was sort of I decided in April that it was going to happen, and it was about a month or so later before it really started to show up in my life and to actually make things happen and feel like physically there are things now happening in my life that make me feel like, yes, this is working. And so now I can actually say that I've seen results, and then I can actually go from there and go, okay, this is working. But when you don't see anything yet and you're feeling like this isn't working, how is this going to work? Like, I'm not seeing how it's going to work. By doing that, by continuing to look around you and say things like, they're not working, it's not working, it's not going to work. Well, that's exactly what you're creating, is that it's not going to work. So that is something, and I'm so passionate about this because I feel like I've done this to myself. So I had a 4-month period where I pretty much flatlined my writing life and my business in general because I kept wanting big things and trying to do big things. But every time I would go a little bit further off of that ledge and a little bit more out of my comfort zone, I would look around me and say, this isn't working. And then immediately it wouldn't be working. So, I wouldn't see any result from it. I wouldn't have anybody interested in what I was putting out there. I wouldn't have, people wanting to read any of my stuff or liking any of my stuff or commenting or anything like that. And that's going to happen because, again, there is a time lapse. So when you decide you're going to sell, 500 books this month, and when you actually do it, there's going to be a time lapse. So because you start doing that, so let's say last month, my goal was to double up on my book sales from June. So my book sales in June, I sold 1,007 books. So in July, I wanted to double up and sell 2,014 books. So, of course, the first few days of the month, I was selling 20, 30 books a day, but that's not exactly 2,014 books, right? So I was like thinking, is this working? Is this not working? And of course, I could have decided it wasn't working, and then I could have just stopped taking action. But instead, I realized that there's going to be a time lapse, and it's not going to show up immediately, and it's not going to show up all at once, most likely. So that's why you have to be consistent, and you have to just keep going, even when you feel like it's not working. And I would say that probably that's the thing that separates the people who actually create success and create the things that they want from the people who don't ever make it happen. And it's because there is always a time lapse. So think about it like growing, a plant or something. So you plant the seed in the dirt, you start watering it, you start giving it sunlight, but nothing's happening, nothing's growing. It just feels like it's just sitting there, and you're doing everything you think it takes. You're watering it, and you're giving it sunlight, and you're talking nice to it, whatever. But the point is, it's not growing. And so you feel like it's not working. But little do you know, right below the surface, that thing is just about to pop through and start growing out into the actual, light and into the world. But because you stopped and you decided it wasn't working, well, guess what? It's just going to go away because you built the momentum up. But then if you're not willing to keep going when you see that it's not working or not working in your physical senses, then of course that's what's going to separate people who are actually successful from ones who aren't, because the ones who are successful don't let that stop them. Don't let that looking around with their physical senses and feeling like it's not working. And so that's why I talk all the time about mindset stuff, because if you can get there in your mind, then the reality doesn't have to match right away, and you can still believe that it's going to work, and you can still keep taking consistent action every day because you know what you're doing is eventually going to break through. But without doing that mindset work, without having that belief there that it is going to work, it's going to be very hard to push through when you look around you and feel like it's not working. And that is going to happen. I mean, you've seen how much stuff I've created this year, success and just new ideas and books I put out there and all of that. But there are still moments where I feel like everything I'm doing is not working. And I mean, I had one of those moments yesterday where I felt like, I don't know, I just all of a sudden got this weird feeling like this isn't working. And I know that that was just the old way of thinking coming back and trying to, drag me down again. And so I just really in that moment decided it is working and I'm not willing to believe that it's not. And so I just, set that aside. And then I did some mindset work. I just wrote in my journal what I wanted to see happen, what I'm going to create. And that's it. And really, again, that's the thing that separates people who make something happen and people who don't, because there is always going to be a time lapse. There's always going to be, a gap where you feel like it's not working, but it is working. And so the thing you need to know is that more stuff is actually happening in the in the unseen, in the non-physical senses that you can't see yet, but is absolutely there and is absolutely working in your favor. But if you don't keep going and if you're not consistent every single day and continuing on, even when you feel like it's not working, it's not going to work. Because again, what you believe is absolutely what you will create. So this month, I'm going for 10,000 book sales, which is crazy, considering that last month I, was only around 2,300, which is a lot, but it's definitely not 10,000. So it's a big jump for me. So of course, the first few days in the month, I'm looking at my numbers and going, well, I sold 41 books, I sold 53 books. Well, that's not 10,000 books. Is that going to get me there? Probably not. So of course, I know I'm going to have to do more stuff, but the difference here is I know that, and I know that in order to actually bring the 10,000 sales into my physical reality, I have to keep going, and I have to take action, and I have to just keep doing it. And so that's the same thing with you. Whatever you're trying to do right now, whatever you're trying to create for your writing life, it is working. And if you are being consistent, if you are showing up every day, if you're doing the physical work that's required in order to make it happen, then it's going to happen. There's no way around it. There's no, possibility that it can't happen because you're doing the work and you're putting it in. So it's just about being consistent for as long as it takes, until it takes, and then keep going. So that is my, tip for you today. I feel like consistency is a very hard thing to do. So if you've been consistent, if you've been doing a good job at it, then just keep going, because that's what it takes. And the consistency factor is absolutely a big part of being successful. So if you're not already being consistent, now is the time to keep going. Now is the time to push through and to ignore what you're seeing in your reality, because that's the old stuff, and the old stuff will disappear and the new stuff will come in as you are consistent, as you continue to believe that it's going to work, and as you continue to do the work to make it happen. So I hope this was helpful, and I would love to hear what you think and how you've been doing with your, being consistent on your writing goals and whatever you have going on in your world. So definitely share it in the comments. And if you want more videos, be sure to check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Jennifer Blanchard. Catch you next time.